The KQL Mysteries, Chapter 2. Sophia quickly replied, "I'll be there in 10 minutes, John. Don't worry, we'll figure this out together." John let out a sigh of relief and started to gather more information on the threat. He ran a few more queries to see if he could find any clues as to how the malware had entered the network and what data it was trying to steal. As he was deep in thought, Sophia walked into his office. "Hey, John, what's going on?" she asked, noticing the look of concern on his face. John quickly briefed her on the situation and showed her the data he had collected so far. Sophia nodded and asked, "Have you isolated the infected computers yet?" John shook his head, "Not yet. I wanted to get your input first." Sophia suggested they start by isolating the IP address that was sending the most data to the remote IP addresses. John quickly modified the original query and ran it to locate the top offender, and they both looked at the results. Order by event count desk. The query displayed the computer name, org_fin_90321, and the number of events for the top offender that communicated with the remote IP address 192.168.0.255 on port 4444. Based on the company's policy, the assigned computer name showed it was part of the finance department, and it was sending out data at an alarming rate. Sophia nodded, "Let's go talk to the finance team and see if they have noticed anything unusual." John and Sophia made their way to the finance department and quickly found the computer in question. They talked to the employee, Lila Kaur, who was using the computer, and asked if she had noticed anything unusual. The employee shook her head, "No, everything has been running smoothly." Sophia decided to take a closer look at the computer's logs and ran a few more KQL queries in both Microsoft Defender XDR and Microsoft Sentinel. It didn't take long for her to find the malware. It had been disguised as a legitimate application and had been downloaded using the web browser on this computer a few weeks ago. The file was located in the computer's recycle bin where it had hidden itself to hopefully avoid detection. Sophia had seen this type of activity before, where a piece of malware would get accidentally downloaded, the code would bide its time before releasing its payload, and then try to disguise itself and hopefully be removed through normal cleanup processes by the unsuspecting computer user. John and Sophia quickly got to work, isolating the infected computer and removing the malware from it. They then ran a full scan of the network to make sure there were no other infected computers. After a few hours of work, they were finally able to contain the threat. John and Sophia breathed a sigh of relief, feeling like they had prevented a disaster. They both knew that they had to remain vigilant, however, as new threats could emerge at any time. John thanked Sophia for her help and scheduled a debrief with the entire security team the following morning. It was policy for even minor events to be discussed with the corporate security teams, both locally and remote, for knowledge sharing and awareness. Additionally, Lila's manager would be notified with recommendations, links to training resources, and copies of corporate policy and procedures to continue end-user education. Later, as John and Sophia were packing up their things to go home, they both received notifications on their phones. It was an alert from their bank, warning them of strange activity on both their accounts. John quickly opened his banking app and saw that there had been several unauthorized transactions. Sophia's situation was the same. They both looked out across the office due to the noise from the flurry of activity. They both looked at each other, realizing that they were not the only ones affected. John quickly pulled up a news site on his phone, and he and Sophia watched in horror to see that there had been a global financial breach, affecting millions of people around the world. A threat actor group called Night Princess was taking responsibility for the attack. John and Sophia exchanged concerned glances. "Nah, it's not possible," Sophia tried to reassure as her voice trailed off, before mouthing org_fin_90321. They both knew that this was just the beginning of a much bigger problem. Stay tuned for Chapter 3.